we all know Billy Graham is a prophet, obs.
Obviously, yes.
He had, after one of the very terrible things that have happened, I forgot which one because there have been so many in our nation, around the issue of guns, Jesus spoke to him. Now, I know I'm gamifying this podcast a lot. Please guess one of the articles of clothing Jesus had on when he came to speak with him.
Oh. Was it a bulletproof vest?
No.
Okay.
Michael?
Was it a harness?
Welcome to My Brother, My Brother's Friend and Me, a podcast where two ex-evangelical siblings and an ex-Catholic non-sibling review Christian media and either praise or condemn it. I'm Aaron.
I'm Josh. I'm so sorry.
I'm Michael.
It's fine. And this week, Josh tasked us with the really unfortunate... gave us the unfortunate task of watching a series of YouTube videos by evangelical businessman Jim Bakker. So Josh is gonna be in charge of this particular podcast, and you can direct all your complaints to him. So Josh, why don't you take us away?
I want to warn you guys going into this. Jim Bakker, who, as we all know, is a prophet of the Lord, did state that God will punish those who ridicule him. So this is poking the Pharaoh's tomb, so I hope you guys are ready for whatever retribution God throws our way.
Look, I was a queer kid in a conservative evangelical home. I think I'll be fine.
You can't,
Yeah, I am.
You can't get much more persecuted than that.
I'm unflappable with these things. Bring it on.
So I feel like we should set the stage a little bit. Jim Bakker is a name that, like, I've heard a lot thrown around because my dad hates him. And that comes from the fact that Jim Bakker's he's like B-list Southern evangelical famous, I would say. Like, he's kind of known, but he's not like Billy Graham or something like that. So, when he was born, January 2nd, 1940, God looked down at a world torn apart by the Second World War, one of the biggest catastrophes that have ever hit the modern history. And he said, you know what we need? We need Jimothy Orson Bakker, to come and spread my message and to get in and out of jail constantly. And that's really what I know him for, is the fact that this is the dude who makes those really weird YouTube videos about food that you can buy during the end times. And speaking of end times, what did you guys think of the musical number?
Okay, so Josh had this list of like 12 videos, and it started out with this one man doing a rendition of... It was like a parody of that California Raisins song. I don't know why. It's not a California Raisins song. I just associate with them. But My Girl. It was a parody of My Girl where he's like, end times, talking about end times. And it was like pretty good. So like, he was impressive. That wasn't Jim Bakker though. It was like one of his weird cronies, right?
Yeah. Also, it's important to note that in the video, he has what could only be described as the loudest shirt.
Yeah, no, it's like extremely like a Hawaiian shirt. It's very, very vibrant.
Like, it has every pattern, if all at once. It's every color at the same time.
It was vomit-inducing.
And I know that... So here's the thing. I don't like punching down. And I think that we have tried to make a general rule while making this podcast of only mocking things that should be mocked. And Jim Bakker should be mocked. And here is my reasoning. Because he doesn't like to be mocked. And he's a very, 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 very evil man.
He's a piece of shit, yeah.
Despicable. And he's doing something that you can tell he's not proud of. So, like, it's a sore spot for him that he's a joke. No one says God will hurt you if you mock me unless they hate being mocked.
Exactly. Hold on. We've lost Michael.
I'm back.
Michael's with us. Oh, thank God. Okay.
God is smiting us one at a time.
Yeah. We have all separately lost internet connections since we started this recording,
Look,
so this is
maybe
going good.
I shouldn't have opened telling the divine to, quote, bring it on, because it looks like it's brought.
Yeah, this is going to be a rough one.
Not even God could sync this podcast.
But Josh was just talking about how Jim Bakker doesn't like to be mocked, which is why we should make fun of him mercilessly, because he's a piece of shit, dude.
So I know we were talking about the Bucket song, The End Times.
The beautiful, beautiful song.
I just really wanted to hire a copyright lawyer and just be like, send desist. Like, print out a nice little letterhead and be like, stop using this music. Because how annoying for someone of Jim Bakker's ilk to be using your song for something like this.
I mean, it's a very good song, and it does suck that this bad man incorporated it to sell his exploitative products, so I do wish they hadn't done that.
But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, because what I know him for is the Bakker Bucket, which, if you do not know what that is, just stick around, it's beautiful. But Jim Bakker is more than his bucket, which is something I hope to be put on my tombstone. He started with this, trying to build a media empire, where, like, his famous thing was the PTL Club, which was this, like, late night talk show back when that was fun. And he would have, like, Billy Graham on there, and also, take a guess which WWE wrestler was on that show.
Triple H.
No.
Michael?
I don't think I could even name a WWE
He's
wrestler.
now famous for being in tea commercials.
Tea commercials?
He pitied the fool. Mr. T was on the PTL.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I learned 2 facts I wish I didn't about Mr. T just now.
Yeah.
Was it the WWE or the fact that he's in tea commercials?
No, I'm fine with him selling his face. That's fine. It was the fact that he was on the PTL and that he was in the WWE. That's kind of a bummer.
I'm pretty sure he wrestled with Hulk Hogan.
I would like to watch that match. I would like to watch Mr. T beat the shit out of
I need
Hulk
to
Hogan.
Google it because somewhere my dad is disappointed in me if I get this wrong. Like, my dad will bust down this door and be like, "You absolute idiot." Yes, he was a professional wrestler. Okay.
Great. Good.
The wrath of one Brian would have been struck upon me. If you think God's
You'd be the
mad
next
when
to lose the internet.
if you think God's mad at you for mocking Jim Bakker, just wait till Brian Green. He should get a WWE fact wrong.
Oh no.
So Jim Bakker he wanted this, like, giant Christian utopia of media similar to Disney. Like, you can tell everything he does, like, that was kind of what he was going for, to the fact where he made his own great value brand Disney World. And these weren't in the videos I sent you guys, but I will send you a picture of what the castle at his Christian Heritage Club, and it's the grossest mini golf castle you can imagine.
Oh.
Of course.
And it's not all ha-has and goofs, because, like, he has some sexual assault allegations, which are horrendous.
Yeah, we're gonna talk
and when I say bad man, I don't just mean gross and slimy, because he is that as well, but also, like, evil.
Yeah.
And one of the big things that he got caught was using hundreds of thousands of dollars that he made through the religious organizations and turning into hush money.
Yeah.
I really hope we don't get a cease and desist letter. If so, Jim Bakker can personally square up.
I mean, I don't know that that's a cease and desist. It's just factually
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I mean, we're not slandering, we're just telling the truth. I
Yeah.
am very excited
That's a
to
good
talk
point.
about his first wife, Tammy Faye. I'm not going to get to her yet, but she was the co-founder of PTL.
Ooh,
Because I
boy.
wanted to move into his imprisonment days. Michael, do you want to talk about his wife a little bit?
Yeah, so Tammy Faye is an interesting figure. So she was one of eight. She was from a Pentecostal family. She met Jim Bakker.
As are we.
Yeah, she met while they were students in the same college together. Um, and she is actually known to be a singer. Um, and I just, the evangelical lost Gabor sister. Everything is like glamorous and fabulous. And so he was actually really known even during the PTL days. And mind you, this was like in the 70s. Um, she would sing songs on there, but she would also talk about things like acceptance of the LGBTQ community. Um, and this includes like at the height of the epidemic in the 80s, she interviewed
Hmm.
a gay Christian minister with AIDS, where they talked about his sexuality, the death of his partner. And then she actually said a really, really powerful quote that I think is really important to put at the top here. How sad that we as Christians, who are to be the salt of the earth, we who are supposed to be able to love everyone, are afraid so badly of an AIDS patient that we will not go up and put our arm around them and tell them that we care.
That's actually
And
really metal.
she actually is someone who like originally said one of the statements of along the lines of God doesn't make mistakes with creating queer people.
Huh.
Yeah, like Tammy Faye was an ally beginning, middle, and end. And I do think it's important to note, though both of her husbands, Jim Bakker being the first, got into real trouble with several awful things they did. Tammy Faye was never, ever, ever implicated in any wrongdoing. And I actually read a really long piece about her because, of course, I'm obsessed with her. And some of this later, but it noted that she was kind of like a naive true believer. Like she was someone who believed that like God had put her on this earth to like sing to people and to like minister to people, and really thought that her husbands believed that too. And it just so happens that they were predatory, really bad people, but she was caught up in it as well. I've got more to say about her
That's
later.
really uplifting before we get to this dude being thrown away to prison.
Yes.
So there is like a long wind up of the, because for those of you that don't know, religious organizations aren't taxed. Like churches aren't taxed. So a lot of times when people run these Christian organizations, they're doing it like tax free. And the federal government started looking into what Baker was doing and realized that not everything was super kosher. And that led to him being sentenced to 45 years
Yep.
in prison. And though that sounds like, yeah, stick it to him, he served 8 years.
Yeah, it was like
It was
ridiculous.
reduced to 8 years, and then it was like, I think he only served like 3 in jail.
Yeah.
And then the rest were like
Mhm.
house arrest or paroled.
Yeah, it was something like that. Just like an incredibly like heavy sentence that was reduced to practically nothing. Like, it's
And
disgusting.
I'm all for like prison systems being super reformed. However, I'm not a big fan when they're only being reformed for gross, slimy.
I do have to
preacher
appreciate
dudes.
Tammy
Yeah,
Faye
I know.
for divorcing him while he was in prison.
There we go.
That's metal.
Don't waste
That's
your life.
metal.
She
Kick him while he's down.
she actually wrote an open letter that said, "I'm tired of pretending everything's fine. It's obviously not fine."
There we go.
So, we're gonna get to what I believe is both my father and I's favorite, like, aspect of this man, and that is him coming out of his time in prison and saying, "I never fully read the Bible until I went to jail."
These fucking people. It's
Yup.
not a hard read. I read the whole Bible when I
No.
was 12. Like, you can knock that out in a year if you care. Like,
Yes.
all
And
these fucking
It's-
people.
and he made this big, like, I was wrong, like, preaching the prosperity gospel, I was incorrect, and he does nothing outside of saying those words to move against them, you know?
Yep.
Like, he still does all of the, like, he's like, God wants you to be rich, which he doesn't. Like, I'm not trying to be this guy, but he said some things about rich people, and they weren't all positive.
Yeah.
God's not big on
No,
them.
Not particularly, no.
definitely not.
Some choice
And
words.
this is... So, after his time in prison, the prosecution was trying to get it so that he wouldn't just immediately getting right back into selling Christian crap and like squeezing believers out of money. And that's kind of where his big end times comes in. We're at the end times and the meat of his insanity. And it is where he is at now with all of the crazy videos I sent you guys. Is there any specific one that caught your eye or ear that you just really just want to talk about?
I mean, can we talk about the food buckets first?
Yeah,
Let's
I feel like
get
we
that out
have
of
to
the way.
talk about the food buckets before we talk about the videos.
So Jim Bakker sells these survivalist buckets for so much money. Like, I think $100 is the minimum, and they go up to like thousands of dollars for this freeze-dried camping food. And he has videos of him eating this food where you can tell he hates it, but he'll be like, "Oh, it's so good! Oh, it's delicious!" So I sent a video.
Yeah, go ahead.
I sent one of these videos that I believe they took away all of the pomp and circumstance.
The Vice video.
And it's just, yeah. Michael, would you like to share with the audience how your experience was with watching that video?
Yeah, because this is the video I wrote the most about. So in the bucket video, they claim, let's really later. In the beginning of the video, they claim to know the day that Adam was created and that they are celebrating the anniversary of Adam's creation.
On the Gregorian calendar.
Yes. And they're using Jewish traditions to predict when this is and to like tell us this, and it's very strange. And then they start talking about needing to prepare for the end times, in which I haven't been a Christian for a while, but I've read the Bible plenty of times. I know all the Apocrypha. I know all of like the things that Christians say that aren't in the Bible, but are their belief that they've come to hold about the end times. The whole point is Christians are raptured. You're not around anymore for when shit gets real. You see like bad stuff start to happen, but like the point is you're not here anymore. So he is selling food for people who think, I'm a Christian and I believe in this, but I don't know that I'm good enough to be raptured. There is a lot of psychology there that I just don't think we have time to get into fully, but it's very strange. And then he starts eating food from the bucket. I feel like I have to give some background here. I'm obsessed. Go ahead.
I just want to say that I think this did permanently strain my relationship with my brother.
Mm-hmm. It did.
I don't think he looks at me the same way. And we've been through some stuff, and like we're pretty close. It was nice hanging out with you, Michael. I'll miss you.
Aaron is my new brother, guys. We've changed. It's yeah.
I'm the brother's
We've
friend.
now transitioned. I'm still the brother, but
Michael is the me. Aaron's the brother.
I'm getting caught up in all your family trauma. It's a lot, but I think I'm a fast learner.
So I just really feel like I have to be honest here. I am a horror movie connoisseur. I also am a true crime fanatic. I'm not someone who's easily grossed out or disgusted. I had to take a break after watching this video because I was so physically repulsed by Jim Bakker eating his own buckets.
It is a.
So I had a similar reaction to Michael. And for the viewers, I'm a registered nurse. I have been for almost 3 years now. I've seen poop. I've seen vomit. I've seen people's intestines. This one, I did have to just be like, I could feel the bile rising in my throat as I watched this stuff. So I, in a twist of morbid fascination, I went and, because I didn't want to actually give this fucker money, but I did want to find out what this stuff tasted like. So I went to a 2015 article by NPR's The Salt to get a description. Quote, "Save for the pudding, the dishes were extremely salty and had odd, lingering aftertastes. We couldn't agree on which was worse, the thick potato soup that felt like eating wet cement, the strong chemical overtones in the chocolate pudding, or the disturbing radioactive orange of the macaroni and cheese." End quote.
It looks so gross.
It looks
I
so
actually
fucking
wrote down my
gross.
stream of consciousness. And I wrote, "Ooh, he's eating from the bucket. I'm just too unnerved. I can't. This food looks fucking disgusting. I would rather starve to death than eat that food."
So, do you think there's some kind of weird, like, where he's like, look how disgusting this is, and this is the good stuff. You better get right with Jesus and get raptured.
No, I think he's actually just, like, being predatory on people who have fears that, like, while they attend church and, like, you know, believe that they're not good enough to get raptured and that they might unfortunately be left behind and have to, like, you know, go through all of this terrible shit.
Well, Christianity, at least the evangelical strain that we were given, it sounds like we were given that, like, as, like, a vaccine or something.
Like a vaccine, yeah.
We were given the dead.
We were inoculated with Evangelical 004.
That's the only vaccine I'm against. But, like, if you have anxiety, you are going to think of the bad what ifs. Like, that's at least my experience. Yeah. I don't want to say for everyone. So I thought of, like, what if I got this wrong? What if I'm Christianing wrong? And then all of my family gets raptured.
I'm glad you brought that up, Josh, because, like, that is kind of a fundamental part of, like, a lot of Christian branches, right? It is that guilt, that you are doing what you are living a sinful life and you need to get right with the Lord, right? And that, I mean, that's a thing that works on me to this day. Like, I haven't been a practicing Catholic for 7 years, and I still sometimes will be like, what if I'm going to hell? It's like, oh, I don't believe in hell, but what if? And, like, that's the thing, especially for the people who he's selling this to, which is mostly elderly people who have probably been in the church for decades, much longer than all of us have been alive. And they have that years of trauma and like psychological conditioning that says, like, hey, you know, you're doing the best you can, but you are always, you know, like a sheep against a snowy hill. Your sin still stands out, and you could get left behind. And I mean, you could talk about how there's branches of rapture theology where the rapture happens after Christ comes to earth, but, like, it's right. There is a point where it's like, oh, I'm selling you this because I'm preying on the very psychological, you know, neuroses that this belief has inflicted upon you, and it's bad. And also, this stuff is like, is supposed to last you for 7 years for $3,500. It's just like, it is the grossest combination of exploitation of both people's finances and also their like their guilt, their deep-seated guilt. It sucks.
And he has used I don't know a better way to phrase it other than Obama Christian anger. Do you know what I mean?
Do you mean racism?
Yeah, that's what that's
that
called.
as well. Yeah, that's a better way. The racism around Obama being president, and then the racism that helped push Trump forward, because he is famous for saying that there's going to be a second American war if Trump gets impeached, which that was a rough war. I do remember that one. It was difficult. We lost many a good soldier during that war. I'm thankful it's over now.
I can't believe impeachment was 74 years ago.
I know.
It feels like that sometimes.
It in the history books, it was immediately after the War on Christmas was won. And then the War on Starbucks, we won that one, and then it was the Trump Civil War. So I'm keeping track for future historians. I'm doing the dirty work. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're inking towards too real. We need to move
we're recording
towards
this on June 1st, 2020. It's extremely real right now.
Yes, it is.
It's so bad outside.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. You know what? This is a bad time to put this in the episode, so I'm sorry, Aaron. Everyone just stay safe. Try to find something positive to hold on to, and just mock this old, gross man with us.
Yeah.
So please think of a good joke that would really get under his skin. I mean, he's probably not happy that he's bald and has to eat this gross food while a man with a surprisingly decent voice sings about his buckets. I'm not saying it's a good voice, I'm saying it's a decent one.
It's pretty good. It's like a car salesman voice.
And in case all of the other garbage wasn't enough for you to hate him, he has recently, and I mean very recently, gotten in trouble for selling a cure for which illness? Which virus?
Corona.
COVID, presumably.
Yep.
Yeah.
He is selling a cure for corona.
Yes, he is.
Because of course he is. Because he is a monster and an evil man who can't sell anything worthwhile without trying to work on people's deepest and largest fears.
The whole thing about Jim Bakker that, like, we discovered this narrative of watching these videos is that, like, he does consider himself a prophet, right? Specifically a prophet of the end times. And that's why I think his whole positions are so inconsistent. Like the fact that he is selling a cure for what he believes is a divinely appointed disease is very strange to me. That he's like, yes, the coronavirus has come to punish us because of, I guess, the gays or whatever.
It's always our fault.
And but also he's like, I can cure. It's usually you
always.
specifically, Michael.
Yeah. After you infiltrated the Democratic Party. Fuck Tulsi.
Homosexual extremists.
Aaron.
It's just wild that he thinks that his weird silver dioxide solution is gonna cure a god
it's also
plague, but whatever.
But it's
wild to be cis, because I don't know. I think if I try too often to prescribe logic to these situations, and that if you are a prophet of your religion, wouldn't you be just giving this out to the faithful, or trying to spread that? And if you're really following Christianity, you would be giving this out to everyone. Doesn't matter if you're faithful or not. This is the kind of shit Jesus.
Yeah, and not to get on I absolutely despise those individuals that follow the prosperity gospel, but that's what he is doing. He's using the idea of money is a sign of God's favor, which is just so blatantly classist and racist and sexist because it exists in this unbalanced scale that white, straight, evangelical men have it a lot easier to succeed. And I do want to point out that the prophet thing is fairly new. He got really into that after he read the Bible for the first time. So I guess God put in on Leviticus 8:8, the one that no one reads, that Jim Bakker, it will lead you through your troubling times. That's right, Leviticus.
No.
You're not my favorite book of the Bible, and I'm not afraid to say it.
I mean, honestly, everything from like everything post Exodus until like you get the I don't know, you get some of the like
Judges.
Babylonian. I don't know that is that. Does anything happen in Judges?
Oh no, I'm talking about the section of the Judges.
Yeah.
Where you get like Joshua leading them.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
No.
And like Ruth and all that good stuff.
All that. Yeah. But there's a weird little bit where like Numbers is
Here's
just
a
like,
list
hey,
of
here's a
rules.
list.
Should we rank the Bible books?
Actually, that would be
That'd
amazing.
be kind of fun.
An S, A,
Oh my
B,
God,
C,
yeah.
D, E tier.
Yeah, we could
We're
do
doing a Bible
Bible
tier.
tier. Holy shit! I want to do that. I want to do that so bad. We'll talk
Oh,
about.
can that be our next episode?
We'll talk about what we're doing next episode because I know Michael wanted to do something about the Jane Roe documentary. But we'll talk
Hey.
about
Okay,
that.
I'm sorry, I got really excited after.
I think that idea
No, that's a
skip
fucking
ahead.
great idea, but we'll get to that.
So I will say, just to like get back to his videos for a second, the way the man speaks and like cannot, the way that he like goes off on tangents is strange and relatable. If this podcast has taught me anything, staying on subject is not my strong suit. But one of the strangest videos was the coffee and death threats video, where they're selling coffee, but then they're also talking about death threats on Trump because he's chosen by God.
Oh my god, yeah.
And like, I don't know, I buy cold brew in bulk, so maybe I can't judge on, buying coffee in bulk. But like, I'm not doing it for the end times. I'm doing it because I need an IV of cold brew every morning. But it's just very strange how he will like loop things around in such an odd way and bring them around like he's trying to shoehorn him in, which is probably smart for his audience, right? Like older white evangelicals, it makes sense to like try to name drop. But it feels so blatant and like nakedly marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's baby's first advertising, right? It's like, oh, what's hot right now? I guess Donald Trump. Let's talk about how he's great. And anyway, here's a list of liberal cities that are gonna get judged. So don't live there and buy my weird buckets.
And not to mention, for the low price of $115, you can get 13 prophetic words.
Sorry, wait, hold on, I missed that. What?
So in the video about
I missed that.
how was I the only one to catch this? So in the video of the
I think you watched.
We watched this 2 months ago.
I'm so glad I took these notes. So in the Assassinations of Preachers video, where he claims that is coming to the country, there was a lot there. There was a whole lot there. They predict that
It's such a good
New
playlist
York City would be hit hard by something. And it's like, all right, when you have a city as dense as New York, it's just pretty easy to say that city's going to be hit with something. But then they blame all of this gestures to the world on Mardi Gras being celebrated. And they're like, you can take that, and if you want more insightful information for the low price of $115, I'll send you 13 prophetic words just for you.
So like, so it's gonna be like a advent calendar, but for prophecy, it's gonna be like faith on day 1, and like day 2 is gonna be like praise.
It's just a millennial white Christian girl naming book. That's all it is.
For the low price of $8.85 a word, you can have this preacher give you 13 probably just random words, right? Like, I don't know. My assumption is more that it's like a sentence or stream of thought, but it could also just be 13 words.
I hope not. What if they just come together and, like, form a sentence, but you don't know until you get the 13th? Why 13?
There's gotta be some significance to that, right?
Is it because of Jesus and the disciples plus
I
Jesus?
feel like trying to explain things like this with logic is also just fraught. Look, guys, I'm just going to tell you, I'll give you 13 words for free. If you want, you can at me at the podcast or my personal Twitter, and I will just give you 13 words. They might be random, they might make a sentence, but I will give you that for free. You do not have to pay me $8.85 a word.
You know what? Everyone just tweet at the podcast. Give me them 13, and Michael will set you up with 13 choice, specifically curated, farm to table words that are just for you. They might be reused,
I have a wide
but
vocabulary.
they're just
Don't
for
count
you.
me out for not reusing words.
I really hope this is what catches on. You just spend the next week and you're like, I need more words.
Look, I have 2 word of the day apps that email me words of the day. I think I'm fine.
Oh,
I can't believe
you're
that.
the
I'm
worst.
so disappointed.
How is that surprising?
You are the
How
worst,
is that
Michael.
It's not. I'm still disappointed.
It isn't. It isn't. You're just terrible.
Like, I know my kid's gonna
I
get
love
bullied in
you,
high
but
school.
you're
That doesn't
so
mean I'm not
bad.
disappointed by it.
Yeah. I'm. Oh man, 2 word of the. I need a second. I do have a couple things where I don't really know how to, like, bring him into this conversation. But Baker had a hard-on for Billy Graham.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
He had him on the PTL, the Prayer Mr. T late night show. And after Billy Graham's death, he tearfully said that he was the best preacher since Jesus. So get fucked, Paul.
I mean,
Get fucked.
for real, get fucked, Paul.
Same hat, though, yeah, because he sucks. But yeah, he really, really was into Billy Graham, which isn't, like, saying much for the evangelical side. Like, if you're not Catholic and, like, some that even are, absolutely adore this dude for some reason. Never understand it.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's just me. Yeah. Oh my god, I almost forgot this. So, we all know Billy Graham is a prophet, obs.
Obviously, yes.
He had, after one of the very terrible things that have happened, I forgot which one because there have been so many in our nation, around the issue of guns, Jesus spoke to him. Now, I know I'm gamifying this podcast a lot. Please guess one of the articles of clothing Jesus had on when he came to speak with him.
Oh. Was it a bulletproof vest?
No.
Okay.
Michael?
Was it a harness?
No, it was a...
Well?
It was in all camouflage. With a hunting vest. And an AR-15.
Okay,
What
mine
the
is
fuck are
less
you
weird.
talking about, Josh?
And he specifically said that Trump was right and we should give teachers guns. And I am the only one in this podcast who is attempting to be a teacher, so strap me the fuck up.
Oh my god.
He is insane. I can't push this enough. He is ridiculous.
So I do have to ask how we're this far into the podcast. Neither of you have brought up the anti-Catholic books that he was peddling.
Oh yeah, I was waiting to get to that.
His one good point.
Y'all really hate Catholics, huh?
So my note was, I am going to let my co-host relitigate the 30 Years' War. I am.
You guys get one decent pope in a century, and then you're all high and mighty.
Listen, we can talk about Francis sometime, but this isn't about him. This ain't about him. Although actually no, because it is.
Yeah,
These people in this video, like they are like, "Hey, Pope Francis is the Antichrist," and it's like, well, I mean, I guess because he is seen by people as being progressive, even though I would make the argument that he's not really. He's just like adhering more closely to the teachings of Jesus. He still holds very much conservative views.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's a lot of like pushing a one world religion and like trying to it seems like position the Catholic Church as like a group that's trying to start the one world new Babylon religion that's going to unite the world before Jesus comes back and be like the devil's religion. I don't get it. Why do y'all not like the Listen, we have some shit. You can talk about Catholics, but like what's with this Antichrist narrative?
So, if you want the real reason, like, there are a lot of individuals I think probably would say that, oh, it's the idea that, like, the doctrine is, like, pushed by priests instead of, like, encouraging your own path. But that's some BS, because Protestants do the same thing the same if not more. But I think genuinely, I think it's because every Protestant group is like, they've got so much more money than we do. So much more money. I want that much money. I hate them. I'm gonna get that much money.
Yeah, well, that's you didn't raid enough indigenous populations in Mexico.
Listen, if there was another South America, then the Protestants would be having that much money because they would also destroy a population. We just did it in a smaller scale.
Yeah, you did colonialism on the not rich part of the Americas. Why didn't you take money from the Indians who had gold instead of just giving all the indigenous Americans smallpox?
I'm just saying, if we had gotten Spain, if we had, in the 30 Years' War, if we had moved through France and Spain, we would be on opposite sides of the table right now. You'd be over there saying, you Protestants with all your money. And I'd be like, you poor Catholics. With only your billions of dollars instead of your trillions of dollars.
Martin Luther is the modern day equivalent of like a guy who doesn't like e-girls because he thinks that because they sell their bathwater, like they're too.
Martin Luther is anti-simp.
He hates. That's right. Martin Luther says no cucks allowed.
Martin Luther was the Yoko. He tore apart the Beatles, which, as we all know, is the Catholic Church. Which pope is the?
I mean,
Ringo.
Listen, there are a lot of popes that didn't do a lot and just hung in there. So, I mean, we can talk about Ratzinger.
I'm sorry for those of you that came.
Benedict's still kicking. I mean, he's still alive, I think.
I do love the popes that just say, "I'm good. I'm done now.
I'm actually done now."
Yeah, it's like when a Supreme Court justice doesn't die on their seat. It's like, no, you're supposed to rot there.
It's for life.
It's for life, not until you get tired and want to just watch Netflix. Damn.
I am really sorry for anyone who came here hoping for an insightful deep dive on Jim Bakker and just got us talking for this entire time, because I'm not an organized individual, and I am in charge of this one, so it's very we're just talking here.
It is.
I will say that Jim Bakker did say that, like, he's not against Catholics specifically. He just thinks that Catholics don't know what lurks beneath the surface of the Vatican.
Yeah, he thinks that there's like aliens or some shit that are actually guiding the church. I sent you guys a picture of like it looked like an alien, like a UFO, like beaming down something on like the Church of St. Peter in the Vatican. And I don't know why he has people who write books like that on his show, but I do kind of want to read them and be like, oh, Peter was actually an alien.
Yeah, I want to understand like the psychology.
God.
I want someone to do a TLDR.
Can someone read it and then
I don't have to actually read that.
This entire podcast is like, we'll watch the bad Christian movies so you don't have to. We're not reading a book.
No.
That's where I draw the line of what media we watch.
There was a special guest star in one of the later videos that maybe we could talk about.
Who was that?
Who you got?
The My Pillow guy.
Yes! Okay, so my initial plan for this was just an exploration of insanely religious business owners. And I am obsessed with the insanity of the My Pillow guy. Because I don't know if anyone knows this. They do sell bomb pillows, but he's ridiculous.
I mean, that man was on the verge of like having a manic episode. It was really upsetting.
I feel like I have to note there are rumors and rumblings that he's gonna run for governor of Minnesota.
Oh, good.
Because that's where the company is. And you know, God's the chairman of the board, so like he doesn't need to resign from his position. God's got it, right?
That's right.
Oh, that's so... Should we... Guys, are we doing this wrong? I don't know how much money there is in making fun of Christians. Maybe we should...
Lean in.
Should we lean the other way?
I've had that thought several times over the past 5 years. Like, man, it would just be so easy to sell out and become a right-wing blog and write weird fan fiction of Left Behind for money.
Because I'm going to be honest, guys, like... The Christian media, the right-wing Christian media, would love this podcast because this is about as diverse as they're allowed to get.
Yeah, you get one person of color and one queer person.
And then for the rest of the audience, don't worry, I'm here. I'm white and straight and male. It's okay. I'll guide you through this. It's a little scary. I've got you.
I mean...
I also want to let you guys know that the first horseman of the apocalypse is here, according to him. But Trump's fighting him, so don't worry.
Who is the first horseman? Because that's the leader, right?
Isn't there Horseman Death first that comes, or is that the last one?
Death is it goes war, famine, plague, and death, I believe.
We got it all sorts of fucked up. We started with plague.
How?
Yeah, seriously.
He's so bad at this that he can't even get his story straight. We're obviously in plague. Death is right around the corner, dude, you idiot.
Yeah.
But Trump's fighting it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
He's doing a great
I am curious though, because like there is like the evangelical idea of like acceleration where they're totally fine things like global warming because they're like, well, the world's going to end anyway and we're going to be raptured and we're going to heaven, so who gives a shit? So like I don't understand the whole, well, Trump's fighting it. Well, why is he fighting it? If like you're good, then shouldn't you be like, he doesn't have to do shit?
Logic is just completely out the window when it comes to this stuff. It's used randomly and when they want money.
I mean, he's just so weird. The whole Christian Disney thing.
Here's the thing, I would be kind of into Christian Disneyland. Like, there is a good idea in there.
But the problem is it's run by such a... the audience that would go there are insane. But the people that are like us, who would just, like, I gotta know. Like, I gotta know what it's like in there. And if you made it fun for us, it'd make $18 a year. But, like... if you make it ridiculous and crazy and at least a little racist and homophobic, it'll make a ton of money.
You know, speaking of that, I mean, I live probably like within a driving distance of the Creation Museum. We should take a field trip there one day.
Oh my god, we totally should.
Michael, we need to road trip out.
Let's do it.
We live so close to the Museum of the Bible.
Yeah.
Which... this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it turns out they got scammed and they don't have pieces of the Dead Sea Scroll.
Nah, damn it.
They just have some parchment.
So I do feel like
Oh, Hobby Lobby.
Kristen Disney makes me want to bring up Tammy Faye's second husband, who is related to
Ooh.
all of this. So Tammy Faye, when she died, was not Tammy Faye Bakker. She was Tammy Faye Mesner. So after she got rid of her deadbeat, awful husband, she had terrible taste in men and remarried Roe Mesner. So he gained fame with the construction of Heritage USA, which is the Jim Bakker amusement park. Um, he was reportedly the person who produced the money for the payoff to cover up the sexual affair and sexual assaults that Baker did. Um, and he actually was Tammy Faye's second husband.
Ooh, good tastes.
Uh, yeah. So they married afterwards, and then so he divorced his first wife in '93, and then around the same time as Baker, and then they were married almost right after. In '96, he was sentenced to 27 months in federal prison for bankruptcy fraud, and he served this time from '96 to '99. And they stayed together for the rest of her life. Um,
What a great year. 1999. That man gets out of jail and I get born.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Two great things happen.
what's wild though is that she was connected to both of these men and then also found to know nothing about it. Like, the was literally like, she's not even part of the investigation. Because
That's wild.
Tammy Faye legitimately was like, I'm just recording songs and talking to gay people. And she even said that during her divorce, the community that was there for her was not the church, it was gay people.
She reminds me of like a slightly less amazing and spectacular Dolly Parton.
Kind of. I kind of get that vibe. Like, she's like a little ditzy, but has her heart in the right place.
Yeah, because like
Yeah,
I unironically adore Dolly Parton.
of course.
I like her a lot. So I don't want to go straight up. She reminds me a lot of Dolly Parton because there's some stuff going around her, but it at least that there's a little bit of not grossness where you can actually see some genuine care for a minority community
Yes.
that has been famously trampled on by the evangelical Christian right and middle and left.
I'm going to send over the article that I primarily used as a source. It's pretty much one. It's an article from The Guardian. The headline is, At 10, she found God. At 16, she found makeup. And the two have never left her. It's amazing. It's from 2000, so it's from before she died, and it talks a lot about her.
I'm sorry to keep bringing us back, but you guys need to just hop on Google and look up Heritage USA because their castle is so gross. Even in in their heyday, it's the grossest, stupidest looking castle. Like, I think I found our thumbnail if you don't want to use Jim Bakker eating.
Well, I wanted to use Tammy Faye, so I'm a little offended.
This looks like the clip arts version of Disney,
For those-
the Disney castle.
It looks like a lo-fi
Right,
version.
doesn't it look like it's like mini golf Disney.
So
it's
bad.
so bad. It's got a blue roof and alternating
Yeah,
yellow
that's
and
great.
green, I think. And then suddenly it's like stone. Like it goes from like medieval castle to Funland. Which is the most Jesus like youth pastor thing I can imagine of someone like making a haha whimsical joke and then being like, no, seriously, you're gonna die and go to hell if you do not pray to
Yeah,
Jesus.
for real.
Oh, guys, unless you have anything more, that's all I got on Jim Bakker.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically that's it. Just if you want to keep your lunch in your stomach, don't watch those videos of him eating.
The
Please
most
watch those videos
fun
of
way
eating.
to end my my stubborn insistence to make this podcast about Tammy Faye instead of Jim. Um, None other.
Wait, do you have like can we play our quick Aaron Michael's research section music?
Oh yeah, I'll drop that in right
Yeah.
now.
So this is really fun and I'm really excited about it. As recently as I believe 2018, Kristen Chenoweth is planning a musical about Tammy Faye's life where she herself plays Tammy Faye.
Oh my
Oh.
god.
There is no one better to play Tammy Faye Mesner than Kristen Chenoweth, who has made it her life's mission to make Christianity more accepting of queer people and being an ally and like walking and chewing gum at the same time in the way that Tammy Faye lived her entire life doing. So I'm so excited that that's happening. And when I found that out, I went down this rabbit hole of watching a bunch of Kristen Chenoweth interviews about this and about Tammy Faye, and she just really like wants to tell this story and kind of use it as an example. You don't have to be homophobic to be Christian. And it spoke to her because something Tammy Faye was very controversial about that today I feel is less controversial is she was a noted wife of an evangelical who wore fashionable clothing, got her hair done, makeup done, manicures, and was like full glam at all times. And you never would actually see the other ministers' wives dressing up or like making statements. And Tammy Faye was like, no, I'm singing, I'm interviewing gay people, we're talking about AIDS, like I'm having a segment of this show that is almost a like talking about real issues while her husband's saying crazy shit. So I hope the musical's still on. I will be someone who is seeing that musical because I love Kristen Chenoweth and I would watch her do anything.
I'm gonna be honest, I'd probably watch that too. I love her, and I don't even like musicals.
Come on.
I know.
Oh, Josh.
I know this isn't the audience for me to say that. I don't like musicals, sue me.
We will.
We will. You'll be hearing from my lawyer.
I'm now my brother's friend.
That's right.
So how do you guys rank this one? How do you want to rank this one? I'm gonna give it
I don't know.
a bucket because that's the best part of the deal when you buy one of these.
That's true. You'll actually get some use out of it. I don't even know which Station of the Cross. I don't think I can give it a Station of the Cross as much as I can just like.
Is there one where he gets fed the vinegar?
Yeah. There's like I would give this a sponge soaked in wine and vinegar. Raised up to our Lord on a spear because I'd rather drink that than any of these gross concoctions that Jim Bakker has produced.
I am going to give this one camel through a needle's eye because this is some real stretching and mental gymnastics to call this man Christian given everything Jesus said about wealth.
God, I'd love to bring him a needle and a camel and just be like, I'll wait. Like, take your time. I'll be here. Take your time.
All right. So what did we want to do next week?
I mean, I'm fine with ranking the books of the Bible. I think that sounds like a great time.
It does sound really fun.
That's gonna be a lot of work. There's like over 70 books, y'all.
There is.
Would you want to break it up in the New Testament, Old Testament?
That's a good idea. Do you want to rank Old Testament this week and then rank the New Testament next week?
We've got to rank Old Testament first.
Yeah, that's just how it is. Okay.
I fun fact that horrifies my friends when I tell them, I still have most of the Old Testaments memorized in order from my
wow.
Yeah, my Christian days. So, I was born for this.
Whew, boy. That'll be something. Michael, maybe I don't know if Josh you'd be available because you have work, but maybe Michael, you and I can just do like a quick side pod about the Jane Roe documentary.
Yeah.
We'll see about
100%.
that. But yeah, I guess you can you can look forward to our definitive Old Testament ranking within the coming weeks.
And we will post a tier list of each of ours, because I imagine we'll have some differing opinions. The other is Leviticus does not rank highly on any of ours.
No, that one's a
nah.
snooze fest, my dude.
Yeah, no, those middle ones are gonna get some fucking slam. Everything after Exodus, yeah.
Welcome to the roast session of the Old Testament.
Finally. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you all have a good week. Stay safe, everyone. Even though there is a pandemic on, we do support everybody who's fighting and protesting against police brutality. Just wear a mask and don't trust cops. But until next week, just remember that it is okay to cry, because even Jesus wept. We'll see you later.